William Bonac and Brandon Curry have encountered each other numerous times on stage, with each of them surpassing the other in terms of placings on several occasions. However, they have never competed against each other when both were at their pinnacle of their performance. Brandon Curry's peak physique is often regarded as his 2019 Arnold Classic winning physique, where he defeated none other than William Bonac for the title. This was a formidable version of Bonac, and Curry's victory was not easy. However, the question remains whether this win by Curry surpasses Bonac's best ever physique, which is considered to be his 2017 Mr. Olympia appearance, when he placed third behind Phil Heath and Big Ramy. Bonac looked like a solid Mr. Olympia winner that day. We will conduct an in-depth analysis of the 8 mandatory poses performed by both William Bonac and Brandon Curry, with the aim of establishing which bodybuilder is more dominant. In the front double biceps pose, we can observe the distinct differences in their physiques. Bonac, being shorter and narrower, has a more compact build but with a higher level of muscularity. He appears fuller and more complete in terms of muscle development. On the other hand, Brandon Curry presents a statuesque figure with a beautiful aesthetic physique, showcasing a great shoulder-to-waist ratio and overall better proportions. Both have great arms. The biceps are not a tiebreaker in this case. William dominates in the lower body at pretty much every aspect, as this department is Brandon's Achilles heel, but he's got a blocky torso which looks even worse when compared to a physique like Brandon's. Overall, I'm leaning more towards Brandon Curry in this pose, but we have to acknowledge that it is pretty close. Front lat spread, and with the guns taken out of the equation, Brandon's superior taper becomes even more of an argument now, as this is one of the main criteria in this pose alongside the flaring lats, where Brandon is again superior to William. William looks good in this pose, good for him, as this is not one of his best poses, but he's no match to Brandon. This is an easy win for the 2019 Arnold Classic champion. If you're enjoying this prime physiques matchup concept, hit the like button to let me know you want more. Also comment down below who should go against who next. Side chest pose. This is another pose where both of them look great. Both look round, full and dry at the same time. From the side, Brandon's wheels become almost a strong point now, or at least they're not a weak point anymore, which is bad news for William. I like Brandon a bit more in this pose. He's got a bigger chest and the more dominant shoulders and arms, but this pose could go either way again. So even though Brandon won all 3 poses till this point, he only won the front lat spread in convincing manner. As we learned, it's not necessarily about who wins more poses when determining the winner, as one guy can have a slight advantage in, let's say, 5 poses and the other guy to completely knock him out in the other 3 poses. So we'll have to wait for the conclusion of this video to really determine which is the better physique. Back double biceps, and we're probably looking at the 2 best backs in recent years after Phil and Kai. Bonac has a crazy dense back with arguably the lowest lat insertions in the history of bodybuilding, while Brandon responds with his own version of a complete back, having a much better V-taper. Both of them have great arms too, as we established already, but the difference is made downstairs in this pose. I was soft with Brandon's legs from the front, but from the back it's even worse for him. I don't know how to put it without sounding offensive, but his lower body looks really weak. Underdeveloped glutes, underdeveloped calves and average hamstrings. He also looks a bit watery, such a shame, because upper body he looks almost as good, if not even better than William. William, on the other hand, has striated glutes, great hamstring development and above average calves for modern bodybuilding. William wins the pose and he does it convincingly, I would say. Back lat spread, and after the conclusion of the previous pose, Brandon would have to pull out something strong out of his sleeve with the upper body to have a chance. Indeed, he is wider, indeed he may have the bigger traps, but I think Bonac has him beat upper body as well. Bonac's back is so much thicker and denser, reminiscent of Phil Heath, I would say. William Bonac wins both back poses and in pretty convincing fashion in my opinion, which will weigh a lot when determining the winner of this matchup. Side triceps, and this is another pose where both athletes look excellent. Brandon, as far as the upper body goes, is dangerous in every single pose, and when it comes to the side poses, he's almost invincible as his lower body comes to life as well. William has an incredible execution, looking more aesthetic than Brandon here, so sometimes bodybuilders can really pose around their weaknesses as he shows us here. Again, it's pretty close between them, and again this is another pose that could go either way, but when it's this close, it helps to look at the focal point of the pose to determine who's got the upper hand. In the side triceps pose, that would be the triceps, I suppose, where Brandon is superior to William, so again Brandon wins, but again barely. Abs and thighs, and if only Brandon had better legs, this would have been easy to judge. He's got an outstanding V-taper and I believe his abs and thighs never looked as good as here. William on the other hand chose this variation, showcasing his obliques and basically covering a part of his midsection with his hand. There is no way he could win this pose with such an execution against any pro if you ask me, in spite of those world-class quads. So this is another Brandon win. I wouldn't say it's close but neither decisive because of Brandon's weak thighs. This is the abs and thighs pose after all, so thighs should matter more than in other poses. Last pose is the most muscular and this is another close one. Brandon is fuller but William looks drier and more detailed, dominating the lower body again obviously, but because of the way the crab variation is hit, often the lower body doesn't get too much focus. In this other variation of the pose, you could argue that Bonac would get a big advantage because of the lower body, but I still think upper body Brandon wins. William looks awesome in this variation, I have to admit, but overall I would still give the edge to Brandon Curry in the most muscular pose. When we draw the line, it's true that Brandon got the edge in 6 out of 8 poses, but for the majority of these wins, the pose could go either way. Again, the front double went to Brandon but could arguably go to William as well. The front lat spread is a Brandon pose without any doubt. The side chest could go again to William. Both back poses went to William, pretty convincing if you ask me. Side triceps was again close but Brandon took it. The abs and thighs, I think it's a Brandon pose. William can't claim anything in that pose, and the most muscular went to Brandon but could go to William too. Now personally I'm in a dilemma because before I made this comparison I thought William would win for sure, and in an entire lineup it would be more difficult to expose William than Brandon as he's more complete than him, but one-on-one here I have to give this one to Brandon Curry. Even though it was close, he did win the majority of the poses against William Bonac. He's in a great conditioning too, and he's got the better overall flow. It is close but Brandon is the winner today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video for the algorithm and subscribe for more.